Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to Nerd Topic. You know, everybody has a subject, a hobby, maybe even a full-blown profession that they just get extra nerdy about. I want to know what that topic is, and I want to talk to you about it. Tonight, our topic is the guitar. We have a pretty distinguished panel of guests here. I'd say all three of these guys are exemplary musicians. It's been a pleasure. I've had the pleasure of performing with all of them, whether it was duos, jazz trios, inside and outside events, 80s rock bands, you name it, we did it. We'll start with Michael Greco.
Hey guys.
Dan Hanrahan and Chris Farrell.
Hello, Pete. Thanks for having us.
Our pleasure. My pleasure, man. My pleasure. Thanks for being here, guys. Happy New Year. And
Happy New Year.
This is the new normal for a little while, man, huh? Just like zooming little meetings like this and catching up. It's good to see all your faces. I haven't seen you guys easily. Chris, I saw you recently, but Dan and Mike, I haven't seen you guys in a year, right? I mean,
yeah, too long.
Yeah. Totally. How has it been with the guitar in this new world? Like, for those of you who teach lessons and stuff, like, are you all zooming lessons, and are you practicing and recording it? Like, I don't know, Chris, like, how do you feel about like Zoom now that we're in COVID, and guitar now that we're in COVID?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously, for me, it was a real adjustment because you've probably gathered, I'm quite extroverted and I really love being in a room with people. And even if that's just one person with a private guitar student, that's sort of, I always feed off of the other people or person's energy. So that was the adjustment. I think, though, it's interesting in terms of actual lessons. I don't know what these guys think, but I find a lot of my students do love getting to have a video recording of the lesson. And if you include that as part of the deal, say, hey, I'll film this and you can have it. I certainly know when I learned how to play as a kid, I went into my first guitar teacher, Kim Pappas. I went into her guitar classes with my little Fisher Price tape recorder. That's how old I am. So I would be able to at least hear some of what she was playing, so I could go home and not forget what it was supposed to sound like. And then, of course, those tapes, you'd play them enough times that they'd eventually get all eaten up and you'd lose them. They'd eventually be gone forever. So I certainly was a big fan of having that for myself. So I do offer that to my students. And I'd say about 90% of them do like the idea. And I think of the ones that actually do get video recordings, probably about half of them actually end up saying that they watch them after the fact.
Same thing as did you do your lesson? Like, yeah, I did. No, you didn't. Mike Greco, man. I see you playing all the time on Instagram and like recording stuff. Is that your normal? Like, do you like set up and just like presume you're going to record, or do you practice without recording? Like,
yeah, well, I practice, and then like before I would just kind of just put stuff out there, with the loop pedal and just go off with just the phone mic and all. Now I'm trying to be more tech savvy with it. So like I'm using the interface through through recording software and using like an actual like a microphone and trying to get like a good sound out of it, make it organized, have not just like random stuff, and because it just seems like if you want to get kind of get noticed a little bit, that's what you got to do. You got to be posting regularly on Instagram and everything. YouTube now TikTok's the big thing now too, so I'm trying to keep up with that. I mean, a lot of cats, I mean, that's like the new thing now. So I've been checking that out a little bit, but I trying to keep it more professional now.
Sure. Dan Hanrahan, I see your recordings, even your band mashups where you got a different player in every corner of the screen. I see them all the time. They're always great. How does all that work, man? Is that a pain to organize, or you just got a system down now? Or
well, as far as recording myself, is same thing. Like Mike was just saying, I used to just kind of put my phone up and use the phone speaker and just play something. But ever since we've been spending all our time at home, I kind of have been trying to set up the studio a little bit more. So like Mike said, I'm using an interface and into Logic and using that for the sound. I figured out how to route that to my phone now. So it's kind of nice. It's all set up here. So if I get an idea that I want to do a video real quick, I don't have to set it all up. You want it to all be right there so that it's not, it doesn't take you 15 minutes to set it up when you get an idea. You want it just to be right there, ready to go.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'll just be practicing something and then say, okay, let me just turn on my phone and it's ready to go, and I can record it. The videos with different people, I just kind of started doing that. I did that for some students in the spring because we couldn't get together for an end of year performance for them. But I downloaded a free trial of Final Cut Pro, which is actually surprisingly easy to use for that stuff. And so I've just been working with that a little bit, trying to get used to it. What I do is kind of simple, but I was surprised at how user friendly it was so far.
That's I don't know. It makes it easy. The easier it is, the better. I can really relate to you saying like have everything set up so that when you get that idea and you want to strike, like used to be that way with the drums, man. If I had to set up the drums, forget it. Like by then it was like, oh man, I'm not setting up all that stuff. Like I just I used to keep a kit in the house and then one in the trunk, and so I just maybe I'd switch to cymbals, but yeah. What keeps the guitar fresh? Like you guys have all been obviously playing for probably 20 years, easily like lifelong players. I don't like to throw the word master around, but I think of you all as like extremely talented, very versatile guitar players. On the days where it's like, man, I'm playing the same stuff, or like, you're digging deep, like what keeps it fresh? Is it like listening to music? Is it just, digging deep and finding something on your own, like creating your own music? Like Chris, what really just keeps you loving the guitar?
I actually say, to start, I like to listen to music and do some real critical listening whenever I feel like I'm getting into a rut. And oftentimes I will do the listening to a different instrument. I'll listen to different instrumentalists. I'll listen to like a piano trio, or take a listen to a saxophone. It's like a Charlie Parker or something, just to get back to those rudiments and really start to get away from thinking like a guitarist and just thinking more like a musician, if you will. And the other thing too is, like you say, at this point, all three of us in some way, shape, or form have been doing this for a living for a decent amount of time, I'm guessing. So over the time, you also start to accumulate some different instruments, which is always nice. So I like what Daniel was saying before earlier about like having stuff ready. My room is ready to go. These are the 4 guitars that I've been keeping in this room since COVID started. This is my little mini studio here, the extra bedroom in our home. And I like to mix it up. Like if I feel stuck, then I'll switch out instruments. There's my jazz guitar, there's my Supro, which is like, my solid body electric. And then I have my classical back there as well, which you can see over there. The one that I got today when we do some playing is actually the 12 string, which is a whole different experience altogether. So I find, listening to non-guitar players and really taking a deep dive into some critical listening, and also switching up which instrument you've got in your hand, just because there's a different visceral experience with a different instrument when you get stuck.
That's cool. Yeah. Break out of the sound and timbre of the guitar, check out something else, different styles, different mood and different atmosphere. That's really, 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 really cool. Mike Greco, what do you do to keep the guitar fresh, man?
Oh man, a lot of same stuff that Chris has been doing. I mean, just sitting, listening, some Train or something like that too, different guitar players. And the cool thing about the guitar is it's like in almost every genre of music, listen to some blues, listen to some metal, listen to some funk, jazz, and just kind of throwing the kitchen sink into it when I'm trying to play, trying to take all those different influences. Also, grabbing different guitars, grabbing a Tele, grabbing a Strat, and it feels different, and it makes you play differently, and it gives you its different flavors and everything too. A lot of times I'll just go into these also with YouTube. It's insane. I remember sitting transcribing all these solos and stuff like that, with the CD player, rewinding it back and forth. But now we have YouTube now,
right? And
I'll go in these rabbit holes of just, man, there's so much information available. And like the other day, I was like, I've been really heavy into Mike Stern lately, so I just typed in like Mike Stern licks, and there's like, they're telling you how to play everything note for note. Like, it's like, oh my God, this is insane. So it's like, it's definitely a cool time to be a guitar player, because there's just so, it's actually like option anxiety sometimes, because there's so
too much
out there, so, just going watching tons and tons of footage of whoever is available to you, like, right now. So that's something I've been doing too,
Yeah. Yeah. So many options. It's like, which way do I want to go? You know, I'm the same as you guys, man. I'll just switch it up and just start watching something. And I get that inspiration from people that you wouldn't think, like I'm a drummer and a singer, but I'll watch a saxophone player and just see like, oh, that's that approach, you know, that somebody takes that is completely only melodic, you know what I mean? In a way, only melodic, you know, or how can the drums be like the guitar? Well, at times, like, can I grunge it out and chunk out those power chords, or can I just, you know, so yeah, it's fascinating, man. Going across and just checking out other instruments specifically is that's the real way to go. Should we jump in and have maybe Chris Farrell play a little sample of his, I don't know, I don't want to put you on the spot, but like, if you had to play something that exemplified like you know, like what would you play? Like what would you say is your style at the forefront, or?
It's a darn good question.
Yeah.
I actually, I would say I've really been working a lot more on my fingerstyle since COVID started. Maybe just because not having a band to play with, I find that just going without the pick, I've grown out the fingernails again. The thumb one you can see is really quite rocking. Wow. So I've been doing a lot of fingerstyle. Like I say, having the classical here, you started going back to some of those rudiments, all those Giuliani exercises from the classical stuff. And what I've been doing lately is, again, does this personify the entire 30 years of playing guitar? No, but what have I been working on this past year since, you know, this new sort of normal has occurred? I've been kind of applying a lot of the sort of classical fingerstyle techniques to the 12 string, which has been a real blast. So I've been kind of doing, you know, here's another something I was just working on. This is like an original. And this is just a nice little simple triplet on the top, and the thumb will be doing, the thumb itself, the triplet on the top is just going to be doing this the whole time. But my thumb is going to be playing every 5/8 notes, so it's kind of like a 5/8, 3/8 sort of polymeter thing. This is one of the this is from an exercise that I saw on one of those TrueFire, actually, the TrueFire guitar website. So like. Just a real super short, you know, example like that. But these are the things that I've been doing mainly because, you know, as Pete knows, I work a lot with dancers. My wife is a dancer, and I accompany a lot of dance classes. And now we are doing that virtually, actually, at Drexel and Temple where I work. And you find when you play music for dance, you're more creating a vibe, you're more creating an atmosphere, less than you are, let's say, playing super lyrically, like having a blatant melody that is so sing-songy. So this is a lot of what I've been sort of doing the last few months, is sort of creating these different sort of fingerstyle techniques from classical and approaching them onto the 12 string, which has such a lush atmospheric kind of a vibe to it.
Soundscapes, man. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Soundscapes. Bingo.
Beautiful. Sounds wonderful. Mike, do you want to play a little something? Yeah, I guess that question is a little too much to say. Play something that personifies you as an artist completely. That's a tough one to fill. But yeah, just, you know, whatever you're into, man. Feel free to play something. Give us a taste of your style or an original. By means, anything you want.
Right. So yeah, similar to Chris, I've been working on chord melody stuff, arrangements and stuff for solo guitar. And I did one for one of my favorite ballads ever, "The Nearness of You." So yeah, I guess you know, I just play a little bit of that. I had a little reharm to it too, so I'll just play a little bit of that for you guys. Here, little Josh, can you guys see? Okay, is it
perfect?
All right, cool.
Beautiful.
Beautifully done, Mike. Yeah. A couple of times I heard some chord variations because I sing that song. It used to be in my repertoire, but ooh, that little change.
Oh, yeah.
Nice, man. Very cool.
A little glassy chords.
Mm-hmm. Dan Hanrahan, last but certainly not least, want to perform something for us?
Sure. I thought I would just play. Some blues, and I think that's sort of where I live originally as a player, and a lot of stuff comes from there.
Swinging, man. Very swinging.
Thank you.
Nice. Have you guys all individually had to change the way you play because you're performing so much now for a virtual audience? Like, is there a different touch? Is it more challenging? Anybody? Chris, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I'm going through an interface as well. Not right now. I'm just going acoustically because we're in the room. But when I do teach, I like to go through an interface that I end up having these headphones on, and I end up hearing a lot more of those sort of imperfections. So this is actually what prompted me to get back into the whole fingernail thing. I was just doing a lot of the fingerstyle stuff without them. And I hear a much larger difference as a result because I'm now scrutinizing the sound so much in the moment because I'm not in a room where it's there's air in the sound before I hear it. Now it's just coming directly into my ears. So yeah, that was a big change. My wife doesn't like it very much either, but she just she accepts, unfortunately for her.
It's like we're all going to become like really killing studio musicians because now we're just so used to having the headphones on, analyzing everything, and Dan, what's the difference been for you virtually recording or performing so much?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. In a lot of ways, it's good. It's good. Doing the videos and the recording stuff is good as far as like having something to practice for. And because we don't have gigs or certainly not as many gigs if they do pop up. So it's good to have something to kind of practice for, something to work towards, and then recording yourself, you always hear those imperfections and what you think you should have played. And I think there's technical things, but one of the things that I notice the most about recording myself is I critique my phrasing. I say, oh, I shouldn't have played that. I should have let that phrase end, but instead I played some more notes because my hand was on the guitar, and I just so you start to realize those things that you just play without thinking because your fingers do them. And then when you hear it back, you're like, well, that phrase was actually good, before I played that extra part. Right. So things like that. And I can hopefully edit those down to something more palatable. I realized that in this time, I realized I've been playing with a lot of backing tracks and a lot of drum tracks and stuff like that, which is great. But I realized that recently, so I've been trying to record myself more doing the rhythm guitar parts and stuff like that, so that I don't lose that side of it. You can get a little comfortable playing along with other things, and you can forget, I have a role as an accompanist too. And that's one of my favorite things to do. It has been one of my favorite things to do. So I definitely don't want to lose that.
Yeah. Mike, how about you? What's changed in the virtual performing practicing world for you?
Oh man, yeah, recording yourself constantly, but being out there live doing it. I mean, you're always recording myself, so have constantly listening back, and kind of like what Dan said. I mean, you're constantly critiquing yourself, and saying, oh man, I could do that differently. Oh man, now you know what? I'm not going to do this take. I'm not going to put this out there or whatever. So it's kind of like a blessing and a curse at the same time, because yes, you're improving yourself, but at the same time you drive yourself crazy because you're constantly listening back and like, no, that's not good,
Yeah.
so there's being more critical, and making those decisions of different things to play.
Is there a volume thing? I mean, literally, like, okay, you have to play either softer or louder now that you're in front of the computer, or is that just always kind of an issue anyway? Or Chris?
Yeah, you could adjust. You could adjust it in your recording interface. So definitely try to. I got two monitors too. So when I'm done doing a recording, I'll play it loud just to see like how loud it how loud it sounds, like just if I were just like in my car or something, or just listening to it on a system or whatever, and and then make the decision that way, like how loud it should be, and probably in a YouTube video or something.
Sure. Do you think that the Zoom quality or the design of this would allow for all three of us to play at the same time?
I don't know if there's a lag or.
Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to look into that and just see, because for me, what it does is probably for you guys too is there's a yellow frame around every guy that is dominant or speaking at the moment. So I wonder if it probably would shut off. But
no, I've tried it. I mean, I've tried it with students, and it's pretty funny because sometimes what I'll do when I'm teaching, especially if it's somebody who's a beginner and is really working on just keeping a steady beat and keeping up and things like that, is I'll play and I'll say, okay, play along with me, just like I would in a lesson if we were in person. And sometimes their audio kind of cuts out, like, when you're playing too. So sometimes I can't hear them, but sometimes I can hear them, and it's like a little bit behind me. It's so like I can tell that they're playing along and that they're doing it right, but it's actually sometimes really, really hard to keep going in my steady beat when you're hearing them behind you. But it's like, I would do that in a lesson normally. If a student is just working on getting that steady beat together, you kind of force them by you just keep playing, and you say, okay, just keep up with me, and if you get off, come back. Right. So trying to do that virtually it's hit or miss, but yeah, so I don't think it would work for us to play together right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've actually found the best at being able to try and at least play together, not in real time, is actually Facebook Messenger, because it doesn't have these. If you do a video chat on Facebook Messenger, you don't have this ability to hog the sound if you're louder than the other person, like you see on Google Chat or, of course, Zoom. That said, we have to deal with physics, the actual speed of sound, right? We're miles away from one another, and even when I speak into this microphone, you're not hearing it in the actual moment that I'm saying it. So even on Facebook Messenger, we can hear each other and technically jam. There's always what Daniel's saying, that lag, because we're not hearing each other in real time. So it's a hard thing to adjust to. And I've even noticed I've been on Zoom meetings with my wife, Jillian, who's right downstairs, and I hear her saying something downstairs. I hear it in the actual room she's in because it comes through my door. And then I hear it in the headphones a split second later. So even though we're in the same house, there's still a lag. So let alone all four of us are obviously in different parts of the city or wherever. So there is a mileage issue there. Pesky speed of sound. What can I say?
I know what you mean, Chris. I'm broadcasting from the year 1987 right now. Mike, do you have any projects or recordings or even a song that you dropped that you want to let everybody know about?
Oh, I got 2 albums out on all those platforms. One's called Heavy Strings, and I play with Anam and Tom Cullen on that one, so the organ trio. And I have another one. I just did like overdub guitars that I worked on during the pandemic. I put that out a few months ago. That's called The Sound of Things.
Okay.
Yeah, so all platforms, Spotify, Instagram, iTunes, Amazon. It's out.
Cool. And are they under Michael Greco or Michael Greco Trio for the group that you're with, Anam and
just Michael Greco. Yeah.
Michael Greco. Okay, good. Dan, you have any projects upcoming or already recorded that you want to guide people to?
Well, one upcoming is I booked a day at Rittenhouse, the studio in Germantown, and I'm gonna do like a trio recording, guitar, bass, drums, jazz trio, which I'm excited about because I've wanted to do that forever, and I've always found a reason to put it off. So it's kind of like what I was saying, having something to practice for. I booked the date and I put the deposit down. So I already gave him the money. Mm-hmm. So there's no getting out of it now. So I think I kind of needed that motivation to do it. So, I'm doing that in late February, and I don't know when I'll put it up, but it'll be out sometime this year. So I'm excited about that. And, the other thing I've been doing on the home studio is I've been doing some remote recording from here, where people send a track and put a guitar part on it. I've been doing a lot for a friend of mine named Mike Kono, who's writing his solo album. He started it before the pandemic, but when it hit, he asked me if I would, contribute to it this way instead of going into the studio. So he's got 6 or 7, so he's putting them out one at a time. So he's got 6 or 7 out now, and that's been fun. I've been kind of learning how to use the home studio with that.
Sure. They all sound great. That gives me the idea that I want to somehow work out a way where I can record with each of you. And you gave me the idea, like ask one of you, like, would this work for all 3 of you guys? I ask you to lay down a rhythm track. Then you send me that track. I sing over it. Then you hear the recording of me singing with it and then make the choice to either change the rhythm track based on the nuance of the accompaniments or you keep it and then add your soul. Like, do you think it's possible?
Totally.
Oh yeah.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna reach out to all of you because that could be the follow-up, man. We'll do some duets,
Yeah, that would totally work.
I love it. And I don't know if you guys have listened to the podcast Dolly Parton's America. I just checked that out on some long drives over the week. She's in her 70s now, and the question that they asked her was, how are you preparing for the future of the world without Dolly when you pass on? She's actually doing that very thing right now, Pete. She's recording vocal tracks for songs that she's written that she would like to have released posthumously. So she's setting it to a click track and playing to her own guitar and saying, I will will this to whatever producer wants to do whatever he or she wants with it. So that way, 10 years after Dolly Parton has left the earth, there will be new Dolly tunes, and whoever the hot producer is will be the one taking the vocal track and doing stuff with it.
I love that. Is that how Tupac did it, man? He was dropping albums after he passed away for you. And Biggie Smalls, same thing.
Yeah, right.
Chris, before our time runs out, do you have any projects you're working on or projects in the past that you want to promote or just share with everybody?
Yeah, sure. Of course. I'll just put it here in the chat, the website. First off, Heavy Strings, great album, Michael. I remember when it came out a couple of years ago. And Nam was on that. You posted on Facebook. I have it. It's even in my jazz list here on Spotify, I see. And also just Daniel, too. Rittenhouse is like my favorite place. I envy you. That's great.
Oh, nice.
That is such a dope room. You're going to get the best live sound out of that. Anyway, I mean, I've been there for events, and Pete and I even did, I think, a showcase there. We did 2 or 3 songs.
That was one of my best shows ever, man. What a great, those live performances that they do there. The crowd is 100% into music. They understand a listening room. They come in to listen, and they respect, all the time you need, and they listen to your stories musically and also just your talk, introducing songs. That is the best venue, man. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Hope they get back up and running soon.
Chris, how about you, my friend? What projects are you working on, either coming up or anything in the past that you want to sort of relay to everybody out here listening?
Yeah, sure. Actually, the one that I'm going to promote first is one that you played some percussion on, which is a dance film that my wife produced, directed, and choreographed, called Mud Bodies. But unlike most films, which are actually shown at festivals and on some widgets, this is actually an interactive dance film. So I'm actually sending the the link to it here in the chat. So if my fellow guitar brethren want to check this out, you can actually watch the opening sequence of dancers. There's 4 dancers inside of a mud pool. It's a mud volcano. They're all like covered in mud. It's really cool. And then you can actually, at certain points, you get hotspots, and you can click on each dancer, and then you will follow a whole different journey of what that dancer does when they go beneath the mud. So it's pretty interactive and fun. So, and Pete played percussion on a bunch, and I did the soundtrack to it. Lots of guitar on there, lots of ambient stuff and all that. And it's free. So this was paid for by a grant at Temple University, where my wife works. So we did that while she was on sabbatical 2 years ago. So we released that actually, I think it was earlier this year, around February or so. The site went live. So check that out. That's fun. And the other thing too is my band Trumbo, Trombo, which is a Philly-based group. We did do one of those band videos early on in COVID. Larry wrote a song, and we got that thing together. And Larry actually sent us another song somewhat recently, and we're still working on the track for that before we then do the whole, the octagon of all of us playing, our tracks, if you will. So hopefully that will culminate in some sort of a post-COVID full-length record. We have, from the various sessions we've done over the last 2 years, about 6 tunes. So maybe 2 more tunes, and we'll have something out in the next few months.
Okay, let's start with Dan Hanrahan. Dan, play us a little something, buddy.
Okay, cool. First, I switched setups. So, how's this sound? Cool.
Very nice.
All right, I'm gonna try a little bit of a something I haven't played in a while, but I wrote this maybe in the summer, and I haven't played it with anybody other than myself. But I hope that maybe I may record this one at some point. But it's like a 6/8 thing in E. It's a great guitar key. I played the wrong chord the first time in that one part, so I had to do it again.
I didn't notice.
No,
I haven't played it in a while.
You wrote it. You meant to do it. We don't know.
Exactly.
Oh, that's beautiful, Dan. Very touching.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you.
Very touching.
It's kind of like I was listening to a lot of Pat Metheny over the summer. I went through like a real Pat phase, and he's got a lot of really heady jazz stuff, but he's got so many beautiful melodies like that are real lyrical and real, like, he's got this way of being like mostly diatonic, staying to really simple chord progressions, but then he'll throw in one or two sneaky things there, here and there. So that's kind of what I tried to go for. Mostly, nice simple chord progression and lyrical melody, but a couple interesting chords in there too.
Yeah, I could hear a little bit of an influence of some of that Portraits of a Missouri Sky. Is that what that was called? Yeah. Just like beautiful acoustic, very like, that's the one thing I love about like when jazz musicians make the choice to just say, this is a song that is meant to feel a certain way. It's not necessarily like going to be burning. It's not like a cutting fest. Not that, of course, jazz isn't that, but the soloing and the improvisation is such an important part of jazz that it's built into it. And then, I think honestly, Metheny and some of Coltrane's ballads were the first ones I heard where I was like, oh, like you can just make something beautiful. You don't have to always be like experimenting and getting heady and all that. So I love that, man. Good for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Michael Greco, what you got? Did you change your guitar?
Yeah, I pulled out the Telecaster. I've always been, a fan of these huge jazz boxes, but now more and more I've been playing like Strats and Tellies, and so and experimenting with more pedals and stuff. But trying to get more funky and stuff too. So being solo, being not with a band, I'm just trying to like work on playing vamps with myself and playing lines at the same time. So, so I'll give you a little bit of that, just some
Yeah, nice.
You got me on that one part, man. That was cool. Funky, brother. Funky.
Thank you.
Yeah. You guys ever have a battle between funk and jazz where like sometimes you're playing more rhythmic, 2-3 chord kind of changes, and then you go back to something more complicated, American Songbook kind of stuff, and then you're playing and you're just like, ooh, I'm like locked in something like a pattern, or does that happen, or is it just me? Dan?
Yeah, I mean, you have to adjust in some ways for whatever style you're playing. In a lot of ways, or in some ways, it's harder to solo over simple chord progressions sometimes than it is over more complicated ones, because it can be less. I don't know. It can be less obvious what to play.
Right.
I felt that way for a while. I think I played so much jazz exclusively for a long time, where you're playing over lots of different chord progressions. When I got back into playing rock, and I would be playing over one chord or a 1-4-5 or something. I mean, trying to play the same way over something like that just doesn't really work. So yeah, it definitely, it's a mindset. You have to adjust your mindset to whatever you're playing over. But at the same time, you want to, try to keep your own thing happening. And whether it's a simple or a complicated chord progression, I kind of try to follow the chords, but it's not the same vocabulary, I guess.
Right. I hear you. Yeah. Mike, same kind of thing.
Yeah,
I know you do both, man. You were rocking the hardcore wedding circuit, and then doing like duets with me or duets with Angie, and I'm like, how do those two worlds complement, or do they fight, or you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, like for the longest time, I was like, man, I gotta play. I've been playing these huge jazz boxes, like heavy strings, heavy gauge strings and all. And then, I was like, you know what, like. Eventually I got back to my rock roots, you know what I mean? And I was like, man, you know what? It's okay to like both. It's okay to do, a lot of different things. And then I got a Stratocaster in 2009 because I started playing on cruise ships. And like I had to do everything. So I was like, I need something I could play like everything on, and that really kind of helped me build that. Like I'm doing jazz sets, and I'm doing like top 40 rock club stuff too, and it kind of that kind of really helped me to to kind of learn how to be more versatile and go back and forth and everything too, and and then it only helps you develop your style more too, because and sometimes when I play with you, like I'll play my jazz stuff, and then I like to kind of play some more bluesy stuff too, and just kind of throw in a little bit of everything.
I hear you. Chris, same question, and then we'll we'll weave our way into your playing sample, because I didn't mean to jump over you, but you're one of the most versatile guys I know, Chris. I've seen you play like so many different styles of music, different combos of bands, solo, jazz, backing up vocalists, just acoustic, rock, funk, everything. Do you ever get the wires crossed where you're just like, wow, like I'm in teaching dance mode and I got to get back to my rock gig mode? I mean, it might just be me as an amateur, but this is like my question for everyone. Like I asked Bobby McFerrin the same question and he was like, nah. So like, I just always ask that question. Do you ever get the wires crossed?
I think it helps to have a nasty case of ADD. That's for sure. To just be able to jump from one mode to the next, I guess. I don't know. I don't know the answer to the question, to be honest with you. I'm sure. Here's the thing. One of the biggest compliments I think that we can get as artists, as musicians, is that you can go into different settings, but yet still have your own identity within. You still sound like you, and that's why I love Daniel mentioning Pat Metheny. I mean, yeah, Pat Metheny has this crazy bebop, sheets of sound, jazz thing going on. But I love that record he did with Charlie Hayden, the Missouri Skies one that you referenced there. I mean, it's so lush, it's so melodic, but it's still him. I mean, I hear it and I say, oh, that's definitely Pat Metheny. So I don't know if I'm necessarily thinking about changing modes or whatever on picking up this different guitar. That certainly helps with the tone. But if there are certain musical stylings or motifs that you've developed as part of your own vocabulary, I think it's possible to adapt it to whatever style you're in. It can still sound like you and just simply be altered to fit the appropriate moment. It's I sort of think like it's the difference between having a conversation with you guys and explaining this exact same material to a 15-year-old guitar student that's only been playing for a week. I'm still talking guitar. I have to change the language, but it's still going to be me delivering that information.
All right.
Anyway.
Oh, well said. Perfectly said. What do you want to play a little something for us, Chris?
Yeah, I'll do a little something because you mentioned Rittenhouse Soundworks. That makes me think of Jim Hamilton, which makes me think about Brazil because he goes all the time. And Black Orpheus, as you know, Pete, is just one of my favorites. Especially on the nylon string. So just a little, Pardon the failure to get down to that F major chord. But,
it's great.
Yeah, I meant to do that. I meant to go up a half step, right?
Does it take a while to get to that point where you could do that kick, like that rhythmic backbeat, but not interfere with the way the notes sound? Like, do they ever jam each other up?
Yeah, that does take. It's more of an acoustic guitar technique that you see a lot of those sort of like Christy Linnae. Remember Christy Linnae when she was here in Philadelphia? Those two-hand sort of steel string style guitars, the percussive thing. It takes a little bit of a while. I mean, and then once you get it, you can translate it to nylon if you want. But it's definitely more common with the Andy McKee stuff. But it's mostly just the backbeat, which if you're a jazzer, you've already got intuitively in your rhythm, your rhythmic vocabulary.
That's beautiful. Guys, thank you for playing and for sharing your time and just donating your spirit to this cool little experiment I'm trying with Zoom interviews and a quote unquote talk show. If you have any closing thoughts or just want to throw something out there to people for them to find you, we'll do a little round robin real quick. Just let you guys each have a 20-second platform to just kind of say goodbye, hi bye, and once again tell us where we can find you. Dan Hanrahan.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us all on. This was fun. It's always great talking to you, talking to fellow guitar players. I don't believe Chris and I have met in real life, but I'm a fan of yours online, at least anyway. Hopefully someday we will meet in real life. And Mike, it's always good to see you too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm probably most active on is Instagram, which I'm at Dan Hanrahan Guitar, and I have a YouTube page, which was a huge step for me. It takes me a long time to do anything, so I've probably said for 5 years that I'm going to get a YouTube page, and I finally did earlier this year. So there's not a lot up there yet, but I have it, which is a big step. So hopefully there'll be maybe there'll be some stuff up there in this year. Some stuff worth checking out. So, but mainly I'm on Instagram these days. You can find me on YouTube. I'm just Daniel Hanrahan. Like if you probably type Daniel Hanrahan guitar, you'll find some of the videos.
Awesome. Michael Greco, tell us where we can find you and anything else you'd like to add.
Okay. Thanks for having me tonight. It felt really good to actually hang and talk to musicians. You know, I've interacted with you guys a lot. You know, me and Dan with the Temple together, and you know, talked to Chris a handful of times at Time and everything, and Petey. You know, it's always great to play with you guys and everything. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, it's just really had a lot of fun tonight. So I have a website, michaelgrecoguitar.com, and it have links to all my stuff is there. You know, all my music, YouTube page, and you know, the people who still buy CDs. You know, I'm selling some CDs on there too. Also, I'm pretty active on YouTube. I'm posting about once or twice a week, talking about, you know, all things guitar. You know, playing tunes. Rock stuff, jazz stuff, and now I'm doing like, you know, guitar reviews and pedals and stuff like that too. So I'm trying to get into that a little bit too. So I'm at YouTube / Michael Greco Guitar. So you can find all my stuff on there. And thanks so much again for having me.
My pleasure. Chris Farrell, last but certainly not least, tell us a little bit about where we could find you, buddy.
Yeah, well, there's of course the site for the dance film that I scored with Jillian that I'm still promoting very much, which is just simply mudbodies.com. Simple enough. To hear some of my own music, some of my original stuff. I'm not so good with Instagram yet. I might need to, when COVID's over, I might have to have you over, Pete, so you can show me how to beef it up. But I'm actually here. I'm on Reverb Nation. You can find my stuff at reverbnation.com /the Ritmo Collective. Ritmo is spelled RITMO, which is the Spanish and/or Italian word for rhythm. And I have a lot of my music up there, and I put new stuff there as I record it as well.
Gentlemen, Happy New Year. Thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure to see you and hang out and just hear you again. I look forward to maybe playing some gigs in 2021. I personally think it's going to be a much better year, and we're all going to have just a resurgence of healing and just reconnection. I think it's going to be really positive. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Nerd TopiC signing out. Please help me with a subscription and a comment below. Let me know what you think I could do better, or what you think I should do, or a topic you think I'd like to discuss. Chris, Dan, Michael, thank you again. Signing off, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night.